Hello, and welcome to Wrestling with Poetry, Kalamazoo, Michigan's premier wrestling and poetry podcast. Today, the poet Joel Craig, and we will find out what is the life cycle of a wrestling match. First, Joel Craig. Joel Craig is the author of Humanoid and The White House, both from Green Lantern Press. Recent work can be found in Typo and Phonograph Editions magazine. He lives and rides bikes in Chicago, where he also serves as an artistic associate for the Lit Loose Festival.
Thank you, Ish, for the invitation. This poem is for Greg Purcell. It's called Bel Air. Because this evil is always arriving, you laugh, a hearty, hiding laugh, and try remembering what a tickle can be. Even at the false summit, snowbound acclamation into what is the word for having your first real appetite after losing someone close. So what, in the end, is it all about? It is all about these memorial transgressions, and for how long can you endure the word for always having an answer shoved at you, so eventually you don't even ask? How many requiems can you bury? Dear Jerry, I have always thought of you as an artist, so I thought you'd appreciate my sharing as an artist. What happens from here on is up to you. There are no rules or requirements. Initially, fire is a big deal. It blazes right on through delusion and its requisite comportment. You hope. Your creamy fade in from silence into wild switchgrass hazy plume, this gorgeous how are you in the moment you realize a tornado is coming for your high noon crisis calibration cathedral aperture. Who are your daughters and sons of vicissitude, and what are your hopes and dreams as an extended script problem, only sporadically bailed out by its director? And to this day, it is unreasonable to assume a character knows what genre they function in. How do you model potential for economic sunset, starting with yourself? How do you afford opportunity? How do you account for fear of annihilation denial? How are your 40-plus days of heat dome treating you? How about your 40 straight hours of pure panic aptitude for what is the word for piling insecurity on top of insecurity on top of what is the word for this enforcement of worrying you let down someone out of their skull who no longer exists? But you are so, language is an organ, implying the word inferno, like you know whose authority to bargain on the flickering facts of cancer breeze, like you know a word for everyone you love seems to be having existential problems, but no one can talk about how do you no longer version yourself out of existence. Please, and give yourself a day to be happy in just about any average soil and make peace with sometimes needing to hang out with not knowing what is laughing a hearty laugh at the problem, always being how do you make everyone love each other on the living through such a tolerated heat stroke. A heat stroke is like when in your subatomic thinking we are nothing, the way our realities eyeball bruise against each other. How is your accounting for denial? Can you at least give permission, some emphatic heart in your throat? But you can't just throw hypervigilance at hypervigilance, like sad magic is useful at the Museum of Lighting a Cigarette while climbing marble stairs to just meet you where you're at, in the present emphasis on knowing right now what exactly is happening at the bottom of the ocean, which is why you need to learn everything you can about the ocean, all the oceans, oceans upon what you can't get from the outer space sense of dread that everyone we long to embrace still exists, but only inside of 1 second of stars, to be followed by 1 billion years of black holes. Set your eyes on fire this instant. Sharpen your examined life until it has no obvious responsibility for anything. Like you are in a John Cassavetes movie, scriptless, improvisatory. There may or may not be a destination, but most definitely there is no way home from fraught ingratiation into art and life that says, I'm not going to bow to any mystery, but I do at this moment love you for answering honestly. Which sub-personality are you transacting with? And why do you believe transcendence is possible while living so reciprocally? And more importantly, where, functionally, do you park the pain in this hybrid letter shaped around artificial scarcity, tiny threads of something you need to say, plus some Wayne Shorter wanting you to question everything? And how do you distinguish anger from contempt while acknowledging visibly it is a cold day, but not impossible? For what part of you are you? Do you have any substantiation, any proof? You keep exhibiting for us what is the word for why does every poem look the same but sound threatening? A little bit walks on water, a lot of knowing digression into, even if you're never comfortable talking about your feelings, as the Basque people say, before Christ there was happiness. After Christ, you are living within a question, like this balloon is blown so full of only breath, and yet it floats. Into what? Are your hopes and always shifting dreams with no name? The kind of poetics where you're sort of your own mafia, breaking your own knees. And you're gonna pay the price you should have paid a long, long time ago. Why do so many people believe you are from California, dreaming hard, and today especially hard up, Hashimoto thinking? What is the word for dreaming a magic hour in Minneapolis, so electric blue, everything is mirrors and many ghosts? Name this feeling and take a breath. Envelop it. Breathe it out into a Magritte balloon like it is the final helium over the medium, deciduous, coolly imperiled landscape arrangement, catalytic, green. It's so easy to make assumptions about. And you're so, this is my truth to the stars above, my truth cutting each piano string is language, is an organ, same as our skin, lyrically sad magic, but still magic, even with your heart in your throat. You're so words, there are only ever more of them, and harder to remember once you hit your curated reality threshold. There is such a thing as living in a question rather than being an expert, sliding beneath, carefully listening makes perfect sense. So please be courageous while passing through the mouth of another. Do you ever sit on the sofa for days with your eyes on fire, like you're rehearsing for the breakout role that will change your life, while knowing how unreasonable it is to assume a character knows in what genre, which unattainable fiery future they are most comfortable projecting the fantasy of objectivity onto.
Thank you, Joel. That is amazing work. This week, we have no questions to address, but if you are listening and you find you have a question, please email us at wrestlingwithpoetry@gmail.com. So how long are wrestling matches? It depends on the type. For instance, in high school, a wrestling match is 6 minutes and is composed of 3 2-minute periods. If the match is tied, the wrestlers go into overtime, which is a 1-minute sudden death match. If that proves inconclusive, there will be another sudden death match of 30 seconds. If you are wrestling in college, you will find the matches are 7 minutes total, with the first period being 3 minutes, second and third being 2 minutes long. If the match goes into overtime, there are 2 sudden death matches, with the first at 2 minutes and the second at 1 minute. Internationally, the match is broken into 2 3-minute periods with a 30-second break between the periods. So Those are the amateur wrestling match lengths. In pro wrestling, there are no rounds and there are no scheduled breaks. Only the referee can pause the match. Here's an example. Bruno Sammartinez wrestled Waldo von Erich for 81 minutes in 1964. And that is a long time. But the longest wrestling match, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, happened in Japan in November 21st, 2021. The promotion company was Ehime Pro Wrestling. The match lasted 21 hours, 44 minutes, and 34 seconds. Bonjin Pulp, Imbarita Towel Mascaras, Maple Grizzly, Oniomaru, Rising Hayato against Sentaro Ishizuki, Kurashima, Koshi, Jacoten Kid, and Sia. This match ended without a winner. That must have been frustrating. The shortest WWE match of all time was 2 seconds, and it was a tag team match of Chris Jericho and Jerry Lawler versus Taz and Mideon. Jerry pinned Taz while Mideon was dancing to the crowd to a patriotic song, I believe. That happened in September 4th in the year 2000. Poetry events. Open mic, September 21st, 2023. This begins at 5:30 and it goes until about 6:30 or so. This is at Satellite Records at 808 Southwest Netch Avenue in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Wrestling events. Sunday, October 8th, 2023, Independence Pro Wrestling will be doing their event entitled Homecoming at Ruggers Up and Under, 711 West Michigan Avenue, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Doors open at 5. Match begins at 6. Thank you, Joel Craig, for sharing your amazing poem. And thank you all for listening. I hope you all have a fantastic week.